figure out how to do this. Can you guys hear me? Hey, Scott. I can't hear you though. Oh, you're on mute. Well, you should be.
There we go.
All right.
How you doing?
Give this a second. Do you sell that house in your neighborhood?
Getting close. We got one offer in. We're trying to get them up some, but
You're on mute, bro.
I am? The heck?
Maybe it's just me. I can't hear.
I took mine off mute.
I had my volume down.
We're getting closer.
That's good. Getting so many political texts, and I'm always like, oh my God, who's Sophie? I don't know her. Correct. Okay, it looks like there's a decent amount of people in here, so I'll just start. I taught this class before, and they asked me to do it this time. It's a little bit of like more utilizing your database, so much so than getting business from your sphere, but I figured I would just kind of see what you guys wanted to talk about. So first starting point, I just wanted to ask a couple questions first. What do you guys consider your sphere? If anybody just wants to say, like, what are you considering your sphere? How do you categorize it? So you even market.
Mets.
You consider it your Mets. So you're considering your whole sphere as your Mets. Everybody else the same way?
Yeah, like friends and family, and then people I've sold houses to in the past.
Right. And I only ask, it gets confusing. I don't know, some people who are newer, like it's so easy now to say Mets, but when you're newer, you might not understand. So when you're newer, your sphere really is, I found to break it down just for the people who aren't, their database isn't that big yet. It's people who you know that already trust and love you. So they're going to, be the first people that you go to for referrals and business. And then people that you know that you have to now gain their trust. So when you're filling your database up with your sphere, this is for people who are newer. If you're not sure where to start with the people, start with your mama, and then go down to people that you know that you think maybe would be interested, that you're in real estate now and that you can market to. You're going to market to them different than you market to your mom. Like your mom, you're just going to beg to send her your friends. But the people that you don't know, you have to strategically then now market. How do I establish myself as, a viable professional, and how can they start seeing me in this new light? And then the third set of people that I categorize are people whose wallets I'm padding. So who are you paying? Who do you put money in their pocket? Is it the plumber? Is it the landscaper? Is it a hairdresser, a friend that you support their business? They should be your first set of contacts, which eventually will become your business to business. But I always think in order to start those three frameworks, it's people you know and trust that can be your first to build on. The second group is people we're trying to gain trust. And the third is your business to business contacts, and literally just write down everybody that you contribute to their financial well-being, because why wouldn't they want to contribute to yours, and try to like nourish those relationships. So that's how I categorize my sphere. And then, like you said, also Mets. So Mets are still going to fall into some of those categories, because you're going to market to all these people in a different way. So the next step for all of this is planning then accordingly on how you're going to do it. So does anybody have a set plan that they follow now for, let's say, any particular group of people in your sphere or your database? Or, it can be just simple if you're just starting and there's 15 people in there, or if you're more complicated with a few thousand. Anybody?
I do a monthly e-newsletter, and I customize it so it's not just like your boilerplate.
Right.
And I do like trivia on it too, so it's something of value. I give out a $50 gift card, and it seems to work, but I haven't done one in like 4 months because I got so busy. So.
Right. So that's like another thing I was going to talk about is consistency. I wonder how to share your screen, because I was going to share my newsletter so you guys can see it. How do I share it? There.
Yeah, at the bottom there.
Thanks, Scott. So I invited you. Do I just do desktop, Scott?
Yeah, you can do desktop.
Okay. Can you see it or no?
I think you do screen. Oh wait, I don't know.
Oh wait, it's doing all this stuff. Okay. All right. Well, I'll work on that for a little bit.
You have to click on what, when it comes up with all the little tiles, click on the tile that you want to share and then share it.
Oh, got it. Google Chrome. Okay. It's got to grant access. But so part of what you just said, Scott, is you have a plan. Does anybody else have a plan that they, no, I don't want to do that. All right, I'm going to not do this because I'm afraid I'm going to lose all you guys. So, anybody else have anything they do on a consistent basis? Kat?
I do, I try to do my A+ pop buys once a quarter.
Okay. That's awesome. And it's good that you know how often and what you're doing. So I found, and I like to break this class down into either people who are more advanced and people who are just starting. So obviously when you're just starting, you don't have as much money to market to these people and touch them. So it's going to be a lot more time. So as you get busier, you may have a little bit more money to invest in what you're doing, and it will be a little less time and a little bit more money. But there's always a way to get your touches in with what you're working with now. So within your budget and everything else. So when I started, obviously a smaller database is easier to manage with all your phone calls and your, physical stopping by and everything else. As it gets more complicated, we now drop in marketing pieces like Scott's talking about, an email newsletter, or Kat saying a pop by. So you could take some of it off your plate where you're not physically having to be on the phone all the time. So when I say we, I talk about Emily and myself. The way that I hit my database, it's extremely strategic. So no one is allowed in my database unless they're on a plan. So every single person, absolutely, they have to have a certain amount of contact information. I'm a tagaholic. I don't know, you took my last class, right, Andy? I like talk. I'm a psycho. Everybody has 100 tags on them. So I try to put everybody in there the right way first, so that you're not going back going like, who is this person? What am I doing with them? When's the last time I talked to them? So nobody goes in without, and I just follow MREA. So like they're getting like an 8x8, or if Kat said, once you've already met them, like a 33 touch plan. And we know exactly what those touches are in the beginning of the year. So like for next year, we already know exactly what these people are getting from us, between our farms and our database and everything else. So that can seem overwhelming at first. I think you just need to start with a few things and pick. Is anyone else using Command? Okay. So we do just the basic quarterly call thing, which has them follow up. If you go into that Facebook group too, you can now, the Command libraries are shared now. So I go into that Command Your Conversion or whatever it is, that group on Facebook, and these people are like psychos. Like they have amazing plans. You can now like just look, like I looked this one girl up and she has the best plans, and you can just drop it into your library. So I've been doing a lot of that. So now I have like a, let me see, something else I just dropped in, like a 10-day check-in plan, like all like really custom stuff. Obviously all the birthday things, captured lead plans, the neighborhood, warm lead. But I've been doing that. So where did I just lose you guys? Oh shoot, can you see me? I'm the worst with this. Oh, there you are. So point being, like those are already all in there. So immediately when someone goes into my database, I just have to decide where they are and what plan they're going on, and then it's all there. And then it's obviously keeping up with it. So consistency on that is pretty big as far as implementing it. Does anybody have anything that they implement like on a regular basis, like a plan that they have that works? Oh, Kat does.
I have a quick question. Now,
Yeah.
in Command Your Conversion, under the files, is that where you're looking?
I literally just keep saving posts.
Oh, posts.
Yeah, because the girl will put in, like, I just put in like 5 new plans. If you want to email me later, I can like give you what it is. And then I've just been kind of going in and picking and choosing from that. So when I go and put someone into like a database, they're immediately getting tagged, like where I met them. So if it's Zillow, if it's Sphere, if they're from Westchester, because then we'll send them additional information. We have 3 farms now that we farm, and I'm like really strategic. This isn't about the farming, but I'm strategic on my farms. They all stem out from the schools that my kids go to. And then we branch out into the neighborhoods around those kids. And then we target them with social media ads. So like we're hitting those people over and over. So they get tagged into that. They get tagged with the school. They get tagged in the neighborhood. We also farm our database physically with mailers, only certain people though. So it's VIPs, it's past clients and potential clients, like people who are going to be purchasing in the next like 3 to 6 months. We'll send them some of like what Scott said. We do a personalized, I wish I could share my screen, but we do personalized mailers and then we mix in with postcards just for like a budget. But it's the calendar is the biggest thing. So like Scott, you just said you're like, I do it, but I haven't done it in a while. So if you set that up though, like through MailChimp right now, and you set your whole entire year of those newsletters, we've been even doing the Blink marketing, which is the girls on the Mercer team have a marketing agency now. It's $19 a month. It's a full templated like thing for the month. It gives you social media posts, pop by things, postcards, newsletters, everything that you can just sort of put into your own style and do. And then we'll just put our own information. Like Scott said, we do like a Wawa gift card contest and whatnot, but she has it dropped on our calendar. Like it's already there for all of next year. Now she can go in that month and like tweak it a little bit, but it's $19 a month. And then like, we're never missing a month. Like it's consistently going out. And then the same thing, like we do like a market update that's consistently going out. So, um, listen, I'm a little hungover today, so I'm a little behind here. I'm like not thinking straight.
So do the marketing girls do the updates, the market updates?
They can. That's more money to do it that way. Or if you're using Command though, you just drop it right in the calendars and it does it. So we don't do it because it's just so easy to put it in, you know, yourself once a month.
Hey, on that, it's Blink is what you're talking about? Blink?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for that 19, are you guys are inputting into templates?
We're inputting it. So
Okay.
all the templates get put into Canva and you can do whatever you want with them. And then they'll give you a calendar for everything. So you can literally just take the calendar, follow it. You can use Hootsuite, I think, or other things, but if you want to post social media stuff, you just drop it into Command and it just puts it on the dates. Like I don't post any of my business page stuff really myself. It just goes out daily without me.
Because you scheduled it.
Yeah, because we scheduled it.
Right. Okay.
But that's the point. Everything has to be scheduled or you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
So even like I had to get on Command all day. Like I had to call these people because it says there like who I have to call, who's getting their birthday cards. We're big on that. We use AM cards. Everybody gets birthday cards, Father's Day, Mother's Day. Kids for their birthday get a Dairy Queen ice cream cone, which that's like the biggest thing. That's a huge touch because, you know, some people have too many kids like Scott and myself. And, you know, that's like an additional 6 touches a year. And they are calling you when they get that thing in the mail for the birthday cone for the kid. Like every year, if that kid doesn't get the cone now, like you're out. But that's a huge touch for us and it barely costs any money. AM cards, we don't physically have to mail anything. The birthday ice cream cone, we do those ahead of time. We have them like ready to go, generic on the card, and then she just fills their name in and pops it in the mail. But that's obviously, like, you know, all on our database calendar because we would never remember. So as soon as we close a deal, we want to know everybody in the family's birthday, the house anniversary, everything, and we're popping that information into the database for the foreseeable future. So it just, so you don't have to like think about these things all the time. Everybody needs to be on a plan, and I think that they should be having at least 8 to 12 touches a year, or there's really no point in putting them in your database. Like you're not doing yourselves any favors. I just had somebody, I fell off of this year. I had somebody today, sold a house to last year. We got along. I was late on getting back to her, and she sold her other property without me in August. Said she had a horrible experience, felt bad, didn't use me. I'm like, that's my fault, Gina. I'm like, I did not. And I dropped the ball in the database on her. Like I did not have her in the right stuff, which is so unlike me. But that's a loss of business right there. So like once you see that pain point, I'm like, I am not losing anybody else. So for me, it's easier to put them in right. The easiest thing in Command is to put them on the monthly neighborhood nurture. You find their address, you pick their neighborhood, it sends them relevant information about that. At least that's once a month. We do some auto texting stuff from Twilio. They obviously get physical mail, and then it's like at least 4 personal touches from me.
So while you're on that neighborhood thing, Emily, I'm having a problem picking up neighborhoods of the addresses of my clients.
Do the map.
Yeah. And well, when I put their address in, I can't save it. Is anybody else having that? It sounds like a tech thing, but is anybody else having problems with that?
Sounds like a you thing, Andy.
I actually had-
Now see, you're getting personal.
I had
I'm
problems in
gonna
the
have to take my
beginning.
picture down.
I had problems in the beginning, but I mean, especially since I moved back to PA, Massachusetts, it was hard. I wasn't getting very many neighborhoods, but here, I feel like most of the neighborhoods are there. But that thing that you're talking about where you try to save it, it doesn't save, that's
Yeah.
definitely a tech issue.
That's what I figured. Thanks,
I've
Emily.
had the same problem with Royersford, which is above King of Prussia. I don't know why it wouldn't let me find that neighborhood.
Okay.
If I can't find a particular neighborhood, I'll just go very broad with it. And that's just another opportunity then to follow up with them and say, are you liking the information I'm sending you? Is there anything else that you want to see? Do, you know,
More specific or whatever.
yeah. So even that way, like today I had my touches and I have templated emails that go out to everybody. Just like, hey, do you like the information that we're sending? Is it relevant for where you are in the process? What do you want to see from us this year in real estate? That's kind of going to be my end of the year email out to people. Again, it's set and it's planned. So today when I have to go do my lead generating, which I'd rather scratch my eyes out, like it's already there. And it takes me less time than sitting here like, who am I calling? What am I saying? Every time I go in my database, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you were smart enough like 6 months ago to put this in here, because it really does work. Like if you get them in there ahead of time and you put them on a plan. So for me, everybody goes on a quarterly call plan. Everybody goes on a neighborhood nurture because it's free. I tag everybody as well in general marketing, and then they're getting all of our marketing pieces. So they're getting that monthly newsletter. Nobody should really be in my database if they're not getting that newsletter. And then we tag everybody pertaining to their area. So if we're going to send out like Westchester event information, it'll be on my Westchester people. Sometimes we'll pop out what's going on in Delaware County. I have Delaware County people tagged. If it's people that we met on Zillow, then we have Zillow smart plans that they go on. Open house smart plans where we met them here. So everybody's kind of on their own thing, but if you don't want to overcomplicate it at first, start with 3 things, start with 4 things, execute on those continually, then add a 5th thing, then add a 6th thing. It's the same with our farming. I started in 1 neighborhood, now we have 2, now we have 3, and now we're adding this additional mailer. So we just do that as our budget increased. I wasn't able to, 1 of them I hit every single month. 3 of them I'm only hitting, we alternate, you know what I mean? Or we alternate postcards in to make it cheap, but it's still consistent. So whatever you have to do cheaply, if you have to do a door hanger and pay a kid to go put them on the door because you can't afford the mail, like work it into your budget and work it into your system, just make it consistent. So I always say, what's your plan? Like you should have a calendar. I feel like if you don't have your business planned out for next year by the end of this month, you're like, I don't know what a good analogy is, but it's not good. So you need to have your entire business and this whole calendar planned out for how you're going to touch your database. So set a system. Does that overwhelm most people, or do you have systems that you do?
I have to say, listening to you, I'm quite overwhelmed.
Right.
You know, I have everybody on a homeversary campaign. I have everybody on a birthday text, which I just found out they doesn't have my name on it, so they don't know who it's coming from. And I do the monthly nurturing, neighborhood nurture, but that's about all I do right now.
And that's fine, as long as it's consistent. And I'm saying the way this class really worked well for us last time is I'm utilizing Command for whatever database you want to use. That's where I live. I hate it. I hate every minute of it. I don't want to go into it every day, but I make myself go into it every single day. And if you follow certain key rules, like I said, nobody goes in without a plan. Like today, I just talked to this buyer and now he's not going to be hot again until after the election. I was like, get it in the database right away, right under. Georgie's not going to look after the election, November 9th. Like, so he's still on his touch plans, but then I have all my notes in there. I'll be so glad on November 9th when I like had that in there. And I remembered another really easy way to do that. Cause as like we're agents and we're on the ground all the time, Google Voice, we have a Google Voice number for, it's called lead routing is what we say the texting line is. So anytime I'm out and about, or I meet somebody, or I get little bits of information and address wise, I text it to our lead routing number. And even if it's just yourself, that's fine, because you can go in and look at those messages on a Thursday when you're at your desk and plug all that information in. I have help, so she takes that information from me, imports it in the database, and asks me what appropriate plans they're going on. So, I mean, that's huge. I mean, how many leads do you get a week? We're putting in, I have a goal, so I like to put in at least like 10 to 20 quality people in my database a week. It's all based off, obviously, the amount of appointments that you want to hit, which I think is huge too. If you don't know now how many appointments you have to hit for next year to hit your goal, I highly suggest figuring that number out. I have to do 63, which is not even a lot. And that's only, I think, to do like 16 million or something like that, like 63 appointments. So there's 63 post-its on my wall, and they have to come down one at a time. And it's the same with names in the database. So if you can get, you'd be shocked. And that's why some of the new people, you get overwhelmed. But if you sat down and did that math and you're trying to sell 12 homes this year, you literally might only have to go on like 15 to 25 appointments for the whole year. So when you break it down like that, it's the same thing with adding people into your database. Chunk it down, start off on the right foot. If you didn't take enough time to get their information appropriately, they don't go in the database yet. Another thing I tag them to is missing information. So now it's the end of the year, and I got to go through everybody who's missing information and try to get what I need out of them or get them out of my database. So that's a big thing that we do. But I'm just really big on setting a system and having it work for you within the parameters of time and money that you have to spend. I think that's the best way to get, consistent business. And if you're new and you start with 3 things or 4 things, that's fine. Some of these larger teams are doing 100 things. I personally don't do a lot of events and pop buys and whatnot yet, because it would crush my budget. And I just don't have that budget yet. So you have to kind of decide where you're going to spend your money. And I think being strategic is the other thing. Like I said, I thought about, okay, who's my sphere? I have 4 kids. Who are the most people that I know? It's mostly through school. Then I see them in the community. We sponsor the baseball teams. We do that sort of thing. We run, whatever we can to help out with people. And then I'm also now targeting you in the mail in your neighborhood. I run the moms group at the schools. So like the social media moms groups, I run them. I just am thinking, like, how can I put myself in front of this set group of people enough that I'm the person that they're thinking about for real estate? And it does work. Like in my farm, I'm selling majority of the homes that are there now. I mean, it took 3 years, but didn't cost me barely any money. And it was just more strategy. So I'm all about strategy.
Hey, Emily, Carmen here. I love what you just said about the farm. Like I just started farming probably about 10 months ago. So I haven't seen the return on it yet. I've started to get some leads on it, but I'm curious, what do you use for your farming? Like, do you use an outside company to do your farming?
I don't, because Emily's doing that for me right now. Emily's my admin. No, we send a really personalized, I wish I had a copy of it. I wish I could share my screen. It's very personalized. So we form Roslyn, Dunvegan, Pleasant Grove. It's the newsletter is like Pleasant Grove, blah, blah, blah. It has all the updated sports information, senior information, events that are coming by, the properties that we've sold and listed. Usually has a contest, like Scott said. Always something to do with your home or like the month that we're in. And then if that gets too expensive, like the last one we just sent postcards out, that's like a fall checklist. Blink has a lot of really good ideas, and they're I have to say their newsletters are probably better than ours. I like my content, I just drop it into their layout. The other thing with the farm, it's really important to tag the people in your database on your farm, because once you start, all right, you're farming them, great. Well, now you get a listing. That was the whole point. So now they're all going to come to the listing, and these people that you're there, now you're meeting them in person. Now you have another opportunity to invite them to an open house and do this and that. So everybody that I meet also has to then be like labeled as farm. So the goal for you is really honestly to old school know everybody in that neighborhood. You kind of want to know who they are, who's moving in, who's moving out. And that I think is truly how you farm. So I'm always just trying to figure out how can I really get to know what houses are going to become available in the next 5 years, who's older, who's going to grow out of the house, like that sort of thing. I think that's how you successfully farm, is kind of become the neighborhood expert. Um, we're strategic in farming as well. And I think this is important to bring up. It's not really from the business sphere, but I started 3 years ago. My price point was like a low 200. And I learned this at Business Mastery because I was so focused on volume, but I have 4 young kids and not a lot of time. So I'm like, how am I going to sell all these units to like do what I want to do production wise? So last year was the second year in the business. I completely did not focus on my volume at all and focused on upping my price point. So I went from an average of like a 250 price point to I think it's like 750 is my average price point now. So I didn't sell any more units, maybe only 5 more units than I sold last year, but I have like doubled, if not more, my income. So this year I'm not going to get away with that as much. I don't think there's much higher I can go in price point, nor do I want to. I've worked with luxury now and I don't have any desire to. So I now have to focus on my volume. So I think it's important to understand what you're focusing on, especially when you're new. Hey, why don't be going after the lower level houses? Take the open houses in the $500,000 neighborhoods and strategically try to make that your price point so that you are not killing yourself while you're building your business. Like, why wouldn't you want to build in those areas? So I think it's important to know where your focus should be ahead of time, especially for the upcoming 2021 year. So within your database, within who you're trying to target, why you're doing it, what your goals are, that sort of thing. Does anybody have any other questions?
There's one in the chat that's really interesting.
Oh, cool. See, if I only knew how to work.
It says, what did you do to increase your price point?
So one of the parts was I started farming really hard because that would be with that. And then honestly, it's using your listings that you do get and then trying to get business off of those listings. So like I got lucky, really lucky this year. One of the first listing appointments I ever went on was like $1 million property. I was like, didn't know what I was talking about. Like literally my first week in real estate. They called me back 3 years later because I kept them in the database and I farmed them. I got the listing and I've done, I think between pending and close, I think I've done like almost at least 7 million in volume off that listing, off of people, 2 sets of people off the open house. No, 1, 2, 3, 4 closed deals at over $1 million off of that. And then I have 3 more deals like that just aren't ready yet. And that's all open house follow-up. Like some of the people at that open house I talked to for 4 months, 5 months, no response, but they were on a system. So it's not like I felt weird. I was just sending them the information and then immediately they drop in and they need you. So I think it's just all about consistency and not being afraid to follow up with people and giving them content that they actually are interested in. Okay, does 33 Touch exist with Command? It does exist with Command. If you email me later, I'll send you the tag from this girl. It's like the Matrix. I don't understand how she did it. But she has a 33 Touch program that drops other plans into it.
What's
ahead.
your email?
It's emily@emilywolski.com.
How did you choose which neighborhood to farm? Did you look at the 4% conversion? Did you look at conversion rate within the neighborhood? What did you do?
No, I have to tell you, that's not my MO. I'm more like people based in the way that I do things. So I just picked my neighborhood. I picked where I knew enough people first. Like, again, it goes back to your sphere. Start with those who are going to advocate for you. They're my biggest advocates. I get a ton of referrals off them. They trust me. They see my signs everywhere now. The farms that I picked now, these are neighborhoods that are mature. People are definitely now in the upcoming year with it being a good year for sellers. I think a lot of them will actually make the move to downsize this year. And then a lot of those other buyers and the people that live in there are families that are now looking to move into some of the higher end neighborhoods that I was selling. Like, so maybe more of a newer construction situation where they're moving into like a $900 million price point house and we're selling their 500-600 layup that's like completely remodeled and it's so easy to sell. So that took time. And I think those people, you don't really get them to trust you until your marketing's on point. So like those people weren't giving me the time of day until now. Like I said, they're seeing my sign, they see my marketing. It's very nice the way that we do market properties and whatnot. And that I'm now gaining traction with listings in that price point because they're hard to break into in Westchester. But I don't think it should deter anybody from making that your focus. You know what I mean? I speak to the newer people often because I feel like that you're the ones that are kind of trying to figure out like what to do the most. Does anybody have any other questions? As far as command and like smart plans and stuff, don't overcomplicate it. Just stick to one rule. Like put them in and do not put them in unless you at least have an email, easy to find their address on public records. Make sure you're linking the spouses up. I try to get the social media stuff linked up to them too. Birth date, everything. So the more information that you can get out of people, the better. Even when you close a deal with a past client too, make sure that you are getting all that information after closing to update and put in there so that you have that. Mark them as leads, mark them as hot, mark them as warm. So that's really easy on a day when you actually have some time to get together. Pull up, like you can literally go in there and tag your hot people and then send that email that I just sent out to everybody, like kind of see where they are. So I think just having like a system that makes it easy for you is key. Trying to think, I feel like this class is not as good as my last one, so I apologize. In the beginning, I think that you're going to have to understand that you're going to be spending more of your actual physical time managing your database. And as you get a little bit more money in your pocket and a little bit more experience, you'll spend a little bit more money marketing to them. So maybe you'll have help doing that, or maybe you'll do some more physical mailers. In the beginning, it might be a simple, like, quarterly phone call, a text in between, a birthday card. AM cards is $38 a month. That's like a no-brainer. And then, another really good thing for marketing to your database, we are making sure this year, like the shore market has like exploded. So we're making sure that our database knows that we can refer them, we can find them investments, we can find them vacation properties. So every postcard, email, and everything that goes out from us now is like, do you know that we can help you at the shore, up the mountains, Florida? Because we're trying to work on referrals this year. Because a lot of people are purchasing second homes right now. So that's something that we're doing. Is there anything of interest that you guys want to know, like content wise?
Emily, this is not content wise, but how much has your business changed with the addition of Emily? I think it's Emily, right? Your assistant?
It's good. I've doubled my business every year. So I've only been in for 3 years. So I don't know if that's like a realistic thing to do. Like in the next year coming up, I don't think I shot for that goal. But she's worth her weight in gold. And I think it's important. Hiring is important. If you do look for help, I know Scott has a virtual that he likes. I know that saves a lot of money. Emily, I do want growth. So like next year I am going to put on a showing agent, buyer's agent, and stuff like that. She's going to become more of a director's of operations. I just got lucky that I found somebody that kind of gets it. So she's willing to drop herself into different roles. She does not do any contracts to close. So she does all my marketing and budgeting and keeping me from squirreling all day long. But yeah, it's grown a lot. If you have the right help, I highly recommend, if you're considering hiring help, to do career visioning. The other thing, if you're newer and you're trying to figure out this, business planning is huge. I've taken that 3 times. Like that will get you all set up. I think there's 2 parts of like being an agent, and you need to be like in the business side of it, which is all this stuff that we're kind of talking about. And I think it's hard to do that and then also be an agent where you're then out selling, where we're going to be again in the spring. So if I can reiterate it enough, the only reason this stuff works for me is because from basically the beginning of October until the end of November, my brain is now strategically on all the things that we just talked about, like how you're going to touch them, what you're going to do. So that when it comes time to March or April, when I'm like, don't even ask me like about any, I just need to show this house and write this contract. Like you're not having to really think about it. And that's why I think it helps where you have some of these touches automated. You're shocked that things are happening for you and you're not actually even doing them. And that's always my goal. How can things keep moving without me having to, you know, be the one that's physically moving it all the time? The lead routing phone number is huge. I don't know if anybody does that, even if it's by yourself, because that's like Fridays is your day to sit down and like go over your database and clean everything up. You'll be like, who the heck is Bob? Like you literally, it's crazy when you look at your leads that people you talk to and you're like, who? Like Emily will be like, oh, you talked to Nancy from something. Like, what are you talking about? And it will be like a neighbor that I talked to at a showing that wants to list her house. And it's like business that's just falling through your fingers. And it happens all the time. So I think finding easy ways to manage that sort of stuff, you know, is a good way. Anything else? No?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Emily, hi, it's Jennifer Williams. Hi.
How are you?
Okay, so back to the vacation rentals, the help, offering that to your clients. So if you want to help your client find a vacation home in New Jersey, and you're not a licensed realtor in New Jersey, do you still get commission on that, or how does that work?
Absolutely. Usually a referral fee is about 25 to 30%. So I have like a few people, I am going to get my Jersey license this year, but I have a couple agents. If you don't know any that you like, KW Connect, you can reach out to them. That was another big thing. I did go to a lot of KW stuff in the beginning just to try to get some of these agents that you actually want to refer. But yeah, you keep a network of people. Ask your market center. Everybody knows somebody in Jersey. But you definitely can get referrals. Absolutely. Like I just referred somebody from Florida today. Like a guy seller up here is going to sell, and he's like, I'm not sure, but I'm going to look in Florida. And I'm like, where? Martin County. Okay, what neighborhoods do you like? These three. I like Googled it online and found a girl at KW. I'm like, do you know these neighborhoods? Found her on Connect because I don't know. She's like, yeah, actually, I really do. And I referred somebody to Ventnor. I've referred to Missouri. Like in the beginning, you feel like that's not going to happen. The farther along you get into real estate, it does. And I know a great agent up the mountains. Like, yeah, you kind of just want to put people in your pocket. And if you don't know somebody, find somebody. I think I just referred somebody to Lancaster. So that's another way to get business without really doing anything. You have to think outside the box. Like, ooh, don't lose that. Like somebody's getting paid on that. So
And Emily, if I can jump in and sort of steal the spotlight for a moment, I don't want to hijack your call, but
no,
I'm licensed in Delaware and Maryland. I specifically got my licenses in those states very early in my career. And I get, I'd say a lot of my business this year has been Delaware and Maryland, primarily because of the Pennsylvania shutdown. And a fair number of those have come from other agents in our office.
Mhm.
So two things: if you need a Delaware or Maryland agent, I'm your guy. And then secondarily, if you want to expand your business, consider getting licensed in other states.
Yes. And Carmen is great. You'd be in great hands with him. But yeah,
Thank you.
referrals are a major source of business, especially for the short. So if you're going to market, like it's just a simple thing of reminding them, they're not thinking about that. I would highly recommend like after the holidays, like January, do like a special piece that you're sending out that's saying like thinking about purchasing a home for the summer, or people are going to Florida then too. Like heading to Florida, like, are you thinking you might want to buy down there? Let me know. I'll set you up with a good agent while you're down there. You know what I mean? Get them out with an agent looking at houses. They all do that anyway. Same thing with like the mountains when it's ski season. So just kind of keep putting it in their head. Same with investments. We work with investors. We can teach you how to build an investment portfolio. And listen, you don't have to know what you're doing. You just learn along with them. You just start asking people questions and learning right along with them. But that's another way to kind of tap into your database for more business.
Thanks, Emily. That was very helpful.
Oh, good. Do you guys have any other questions? The only other thing is business to business. I highly recommend having a category and tagging them kind of with what they are. Like I even tag the trades and whatnot. And that's helpful when you have clients that need something too. It's really easy to pull up who you can refer them, like your electricians and your plumbers and your stagers and everybody else. And then you can market to them in a separate way too. Obviously, you could send them a quarterly letter like, hey, does anybody have anything they want to partner up on for the spring or fall that I can pass to my clients? I like to refer you. Keep track of how often you're referring them too. Because if you're referring somebody repeatedly and they're not sending you business back, find somebody else to refer. Andy said bye. Okay. All right. Well, I'll end it unless anybody has anything else. Sorry, I wasn't that prepared today. All right. Well, enjoy your day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.